Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join us as we explore the rugged landscapes, uncover hidden historical gems, and dive deep into the rich legends and culture of this iconic region. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Please leave a like or comment. This is very helpful. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Picture this. You're a farmer in Texas, working your cotton fields along the Red River, when your plow suddenly strikes something hard. You bend down, brush away the dirt, and there it is, a rotting canvas bag filled with gleaming $20 gold pieces from 1894. Congratulations, you've just discovered one of the most famous lost treasures in American history, worth potentially $500,000 today. This isn't fantasy. Somewhere near the confluence of the Red River and Little Wichita River in North Texas, $10,000 in gold coins, the equivalent of nearly $300,000 in today's money, lies buried just beneath the surface, waiting to be found. It's been there for over 130 years, hidden by desperate bank robbers fleeing for their lives across the Texas frontier. Let me take you back to a spring morning in 1894 to the dusty streets of Bowie, Texas, a growing frontier town in Montague County with exactly one bank, and that's all four strangers on horseback needed to know. The quartet of men had ridden into Bowie before dawn, positioning themselves casually near the First National Bank like they were just waiting for business hours. Nothing suspicious about that, except these weren't customers. They were predators and they'd done their homework. When the bank manager arrived to unlock the doors for another day of frontier commerce, the four strangers simply followed him inside. Picture the manager's shock when, once inside the safety of his own bank, guns suddenly appeared in the hands of his customers. "Fill the bags," came the cold command, and canvas sacks were thrust across the counter. The terrified manager complied, stuffing the bags with everything in the vault, $10,000 in gleaming $20 gold pieces, plus another $18,000 in paper money and other currency. $28,000 total. To put that in perspective, the average worker in 1894 made about $400 a year. These men had just stolen the equivalent of 70 years' wages. But here's where their perfect plan began to unravel. Two bank employees arrived for work, walking straight into an armed robbery in progress. Panic seized one of the robbers. A gun discharged. The employees dove for cover, and suddenly the quiet morning erupted into chaos. The robbers grabbed their partially filled money bags and bolted for their horses, but the gunshot had awakened the town. Armed citizens poured into the streets, and what followed was a running gun battle through Bowie's main thoroughfare. In the crossfire, an innocent townsperson was struck down and killed, turning a robbery into murder. Remarkably, all four criminals escaped unharmed, spurring their horses north toward the Red River and what they believed would be freedom in Indian Territory. Behind them, within an hour, an armed posse had formed and was thundering in pursuit. The robbers weren't running blind. They knew exactly where they were going: Rock Crossing, a well-known ford across the Red River about 25 miles north of Bowie. Cross that river and they'd be in Indian Territory, a vast, lawless region where federal marshals were spread thin and outlaws found sanctuary. But nature had other plans. When the four desperate men reached Rock Crossing that evening, they found the Red River swollen with spring rains running at flood stage. The water that should have been their salvation had become an impassable torrent. Faced with a choice between certain drowning and possible capture, they made camp in a grove of cottonwood trees on the Texas side of the river, planning to wait for the water to recede. It was a fateful decision that would create one of America's most enduring treasure legends. That night, around their campfire, the criminals made a practical choice that would haunt treasure hunters for generations. They divided the paper money among themselves, lighter and easier to carry if they needed to scatter. But the gold? Those heavy $20 pieces stayed in their canvas bags, too cumbersome for individual flight. Unknown to the desperate fugitives, their presence at Rock Crossing had been anticipated. The Bowie marshal, thinking like the criminals, had contacted federal authorities stationed in Comanche, just 25 miles north of the crossing. Federal Marshal Palmore and his men were already positioning themselves on the Indian Territory side of the river, waiting. Dawn brought both hope and terror. The river had dropped slightly overnight, though it remained dangerously high. As the criminals prepared for their crossing attempt, one of them spotted something that made his blood run cold, a dust cloud on the southern horizon. The posse from Bowie was closing in. What happened next took only minutes but would create a mystery lasting centuries. Realizing the heavy gold would doom them in the treacherous river crossing, one of the robbers grabbed a shovel and frantically dug a shallow hole near a large tree close to their campsite. The canvas bags containing $10,000 in $20 gold pieces disappeared into the earth, covered hastily with dirt and debris. There was no time for proper landmarks, no careful mapping of the location. The posse was within shooting range, and it was now or never. The four men spurred their horses into the raging Red River, and what followed was a desperate battle against nature itself. Multiple times, both horses and riders vanished beneath the muddy surface before fighting their way back up. The current carried them far downstream from their intended crossing point, but somehow, miraculously, all four men and their mounts reached the northern bank alive, where federal marshals were waiting with drawn guns. Exhausted, soaked, and surrounded, the bank robbers surrendered without a fight, but their capture was only the beginning of the treasure story. Marshal Palmore recovered most of the stolen paper money from the criminals' saddlebags, but the gold was nowhere to be found. Under interrogation, all four men maintained complete ignorance about any missing treasure. They'd rather face the gallows than reveal the location of their buried fortune. The journey to trial at Fort Smith, Arkansas, known ominously as Hell on the Border, took several days overland. During those long nights around the campfire, something unexpected developed. Marshal Palmore struck up a friendship with the oldest of the four criminals, passing time with card games and conversation. Night after night, Palmore would probe about the missing gold. Where had they hidden it? What had they done with $10,000 in $20 pieces? Each time, the elderly outlaw would respond with the same knowing smile and conspiratorial wink, never saying a word. Judge Isaac Parker, the infamous hanging judge, showed no mercy. All four men were sentenced to death for armed robbery and murder. After weeks in the dark cells beneath the courthouse, pale and weakened, they were led to the gallows. 13 steps led to the execution platform. As the second prisoner was being prepared for his appointment with eternity, the elderly criminal leaned close to Marshal Palmore and whispered something that would launch decades of treasure hunting. "The gold," he said quietly, "is buried under a big tree near where we camped." Then, true to form, he gave one final wink before stepping forward to meet his fate. Palmore now had the information he'd sought for months, but his duties as a federal marshal kept him from returning to Rock Crossing immediately. When he finally made it back to the Red River, he faced a daunting reality. The crossing area was dotted with numerous campsites among the cottonwoods, and he'd never actually seen where the criminals had spent their final night of freedom. Armed with only the vague description, "under a big tree near where we camped," Palmore began a systematic search that would consume years of his life. He'd return whenever duty allowed, selecting promising campsites and digging around the base of large trees. Trip after trip, excavation after excavation, but the treasure remained as elusive as smoke. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had the word of a dying man, arguably the most honest moment in the outlaw's life. But the Red River country had too many big trees and too many former campsites to search them all. Today, more than 130 years later, treasure hunters and researchers have developed sophisticated theories about the gold's location. The leading hypothesis points to the area near the confluence of the Red River and Little Wichita River, where extensive cottonwood groves match historical descriptions. But here's where the story takes a modern twist. Much of the riverside woodland that existed in 1894 has been cleared for agriculture. Those $10,000 in gold coins, now worth potentially $500,000, might lie just inches beneath someone's cotton field, waiting for the right plow, the right day, the right moment of discovery. Join my Patreon community and discover my art print products on my website in the links provided in my description and link above. Also, if you would like a particular image from my videos, give the timestamp for image and I will upload it to my website and Patreon. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest Gold story. Check out my large catalog of Southwest videos and playlists on historical tales, legends, lost gold stories, and adult bedtime stories. If you like a certain image from my videos, tell me in comments and give timestamp. Happy trails! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.